For me, when I'm in social situations where there's drink, and this happens quite a lot being in the industry, it didn't happen over time where I was comfortable. I had to kind of work up to it. You know, I'd never recommend somebody in early recovery in the first 6 months to deliberately go out and test themselves to see if they can handle it. You know, we spent years and years being addicts or alcoholics, that we've built up that urge to want to drink in those situations. So it won't happen overnight that you feel comfortable. But I think for your first or second time, it's really important. What I did was to bring a sober friend with me, somebody who understood what I was going through and understood that I can't drink. And if at any point in the night I felt uncomfortable, was strong enough themselves to help take me away. Have a backup plan in order, you know, a code word when you ring somebody or your mum or your friend, I need to leave, and have a cab waiting, that kind of thing. Eat before you get there so you're not irritated. Ring in advance, see what non-alcoholic drinks that they have available. Make sure that there's something that you enjoy drinking when you get there that isn't alcoholic. And just pace yourself, you know, be kind to yourself. It's not easy to be in those situations. Build up muscles and reactions to want to drink because it eases our pain and our anxiety, and it makes us more comfortable. We thought it did. But honestly, over time, you will know that you can go into those situations and still have an amazing time without drink. So a lot of people ask me, what did alcohol do to my life? How did it ruin things? And the family as well, how did it affect the family? And I have a letter. Hugh wrote me a letter when I was in rehab. Until that letter was read to me, I really did not understand what I was putting him and the kids through. I had absolutely no idea. I knew that I wasn't being the best mum, the best wife or friend, but I had no idea the amount of pain that they had felt until I was able to read this letter. So I'm going to read a little bit out today. Get my reading glasses on. I'm not going to read it all. There's some things in there I don't wish anybody to know. It's quite shameful. But this is the best way to describe what alcohol did to me. This is from Hugh. The last 3 years, I have seen you spiral and turn into somebody who I know is not the woman that I love. I have watched you get pulled apart from addiction, and no matter what I tried, you could not see or hear me. I've had to watch and listen as people that you love pulled away from you. They didn't like what you were becoming. They would ask me all the time, is she okay? You need to do something. I'd have people call me weekly and daily, telling me their concerns. And whenever I tried to address it to you, you would fight back or blame them. I can't list all of the occasions. We'd be here forever. But unfortunately, the anger and the hatred that you projected towards me, the kids and your friends, is really hard to swallow. Watching you spiral like this has hurt me personally. It's really hard to deal with because I couldn't talk to my best friend, which is you. If I addressed anything or saw things slightly differently, it'd be an argument. The affection that you want can't be there when the woman that you love then screams at you. You're really beautiful to me, Shao, but it's very difficult watching how little respect that you have for yourself. No matter what we plan, it always ends in you drinking. The strain that's been put on our relationship's been really demanding. I've been left embarrassed several times by the way that you spoke to me in front of people. That was never you. You were always my biggest fan. Unfortunately, your addictive behaviour has hurt me so much. It's turned you into a liar, and you've become someone who's untrustworthy. Your behaviour's robbed me of my wife, and the kids are their mummy. It's really hard to realise that that's me. Because I'm a good mummy. I love my kids. And I'm a good wife. I love my husband and I'm a great friend. I'm very loyal to my friends. But unfortunately, alcohol stripped me of all of that. You know, all of that was taken away from me when I drank. I wasn't a great mum. I didn't want to be around my friends because they didn't drink like me. And I certainly wasn't an attentive wife. How could anybody love me when I didn't love myself? And that's what alcohol did for me. The mental struggle and the mental torture that I had with alcohol was really painful. You know, towards the end, I didn't want to drink, but I couldn't stop. And then I'm in that horrible place of being torn apart because all I wanted to do was stop drinking at that point, but I couldn't. And I didn't know why. I still didn't even acknowledge that I was an alcoholic until I went to rehab. I had no idea what I was suffering from. I just knew that alcohol was killing me. I had been told that. You know, for me physically as well, I was in and out of hospital a lot. I had the onset of sclerosis of the liver. My pancreas had packed up. I was turning yellow. My skin was translucent. It would be very itchy. It would feel like just things are crawling inside of me, and I would scratch my skin, and it would like scab up. I remember when I went in to rehab, there was about a week where I was so itchy that I was bleeding, and I took pictures of my legs, and all you could see were these veins. The skin was translucent. It was horrendous. My hair was falling out. I was constantly patchy and rashy and, you know, irritable. I didn't sleep. That obviously had a knock-on effect with everything as well. And the mental torture that's in your mind at that point, you know, fighting this but not knowing what you're fighting, is really, really tiring. And unfortunately, when you're in addiction, the only solution that you can find at that point is to drink more or use more. Trust is something that you have to earn, right? And it was completely abolished when I was in alcoholism. How could anybody trust me when I would let them down? All my promises about stopping or slowing down, I couldn't keep. When I promised I wouldn't yell anymore at the kids or my husband, I did. When I promised I'd be back at a certain time at night, I wasn't. When I promised my mum I would get better, I couldn't. When I promised my friends I would be at the birthday meals and I didn't even make it out the door. When I promised I wouldn't embarrass somebody on a night out, I embarrassed them. So how was trust going to be there? It wasn't. And ultimately we have to build that trust back up. For me and many other people who are struggling with addiction, when they get sober, you're kind of like almost reborn again. And you have to learn these tools that you may have once had but was taken away with alcoholism. So I had to build up the trust with my friends, my family and my kids. My kids didn't trust that when I left the house I was coming home, because the last time I left I went away for 28 days, and that was scary for them and they had to navigate that. Living amends and doing what I need to do. For me, you know, I attend meetings, I follow a program, I don't drink. By doing those things, I rebuild up the trust that I once had from my friends and my family. Cravings for alcohol is a big thing in early recovery because you've built up a habit, right? You've done the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's actually the definition of insanity. We repeat the same thing over and over again. We built up these muscles and it's time to unlearn those muscles. So the cravings for alcohol don't leave overnight. It's not one of these things where you wake up after you've done, you know, your 28-day program and, oh my gosh, I'm cured. What the 28-day program does, it teaches you how to survive when these cravings come. And that's why it's so important to do something like Rehubs, because it teaches you your tools that you can carry forward. If a craving came on to me now, bear in mind I'm almost 3 years now, which is mad when I say it out loud. They don't come that often, very infrequently. In fact, I can't remember the last time I had a craving. I think cravings just go. I think when you stop doing something on repeat, then the cravings just diminish, and then you find a love and a zest for other things, and it replaces those cravings. If you feel a craving coming on, a good tip is to have something sweet available in your handbag at all time, or your man bag. You know, like a little Mars bar or a handful of Haribo does the trick for me, because what you're actually craving is the sugar. It's not the alcohol, it's the sugar from the alcohol. One thing to be careful though, and this happens with most alcoholics, is that we get cravings for sweets and sugar because we've been drinking so much and it's full of sugar and our body craves that. It's one thing I do have to point out to watch out for. Diabetes is something that's quite prevalent in people in early recovery because we reach for the sweets. Just be mindful not to cross addict and not replace one addiction with another. In recovery, it's fundamentally important to have a community, to have people around you that are like you, that think like you, that drank like you, used like you, who all want to get better and stop drinking and using. That's so important because you can relate to those people. That's why places like Rehubs have that community going on where you're in that kind of WhatsApp group or that community online to keep you relative and keep you actually owning up to anything that might be going on for you. It's way easier to say to another alcoholic, I was really tempted to drink today, than it is to your loved ones at home. Whilst that might be hard to hear for the loved ones, it's not something that I can share with my family because I don't want them to worry. Whereas us alcoholics get that we can have those cravings, we can have those down points, but not actually pick up a drink. And that's because we've got a community of people around us. I can't distinguish when I cross that line to alcoholism. It's very, very grey. You know, I wasn't a young person drinking out of control. The first drink I took, I didn't think I've arrived and this is it. Drink was always part of my life, but it wasn't something that I relied on to get me through the day. I did come to the conclusion that when I had my hysterectomy, there's a lot of trauma around that and I hadn't dealt with it. I didn't seek guidance or counselling and I kept it all in and I dealt with everything by myself. It's a very lonely place to be. And that was 10 years ago. And off the back of that, I felt like I was alone. I was scared. I didn't feel like myself. I didn't know my new body and I wasn't relatable to my peers. You know, none of my friends were going through menopause at the same time. And I found a solution in alcohol. I found that alcohol gave me whatever confidence I felt I was lacking. Very slowly and then very quickly, that line crossed from what was a social drinker to being a full-blown alcoholic. Where that line crossed, I don't know. But it must have stemmed from some kind of trauma. We see this a lot in addiction. What trauma do you have in your life? It's something I hadn't even acknowledged until I got sober. You hear this a lot, that when you get sober, the best thing about it is that you get your emotions back. But the worst thing about it is that you get your emotions back. Because you have to learn to deal with your emotions. Because you've been drinking and hiding them and keeping them in for such a long time that you're like, wow, you know, all these emotions and hormones are running through my body and I've never acknowledged them. You know, whilst I wasn't an evil person at heart, it's very difficult to feel love, to be loved, to give patience and understanding when you're in addictions. So I had to relearn all of my emotions again. Again, it didn't happen overnight. You know, it was a period of time that I realized that I actually had to relearn how to deal with emotions, especially emotions within myself, but also how to react to other people's emotions. You know, my reaction before would have been to take a drink or to throw it away and just say, oh, don't worry. I was never the person that people could come to for their troubles. But I am now. You know, there is hope. You can recover from addictions and get your emotions back and understand them. I think for me, the biggest thing is to pause. If I just pause before I react to a situation rather than react straight away. Now, I'm not perfect at all. And if the kids aren't brushing their teeth, I can react straight away. But if I just allow myself that slight second pause, my reaction is usually a lot less hasty than it would have been. Learning to deal with your emotions and sitting with them as well is really important because emotions pass. It's just temporary. We used to drink on emotions, happy, sadness, guilt, whereas now we can accept that it's just a moment, acknowledge it, and leave it go. You know, if someone's going to relapse, if they already have that fleeting thought, the chances are they're going to relapse because they don't do some really important things, which is ring somebody, tell somebody else, your sponsor, a fellow addict, your peers who you trust, who will help you. Reach out, tell them you feel like this. And 9 times out of 10, you won't relapse. You know, don't put yourself into temptation where you don't need to be. Yes, we can go out and enjoy ourselves. Like, I have a whale of a time without alcohol going out. But I've also now got the ability to say no. Whereas I used to say yes to everything and just go out. I don't need to go out all the time. You don't need to prove yourself that you can go out. Always have an exit plan. Or a wing woman, a wing man, somebody who's not drinking as well. Make sure that you've called ahead to see that they've got soft drinks on tap, so that there's no, you know, you don't have to just look at the alcohol. Eat before you go out. Always have a snack at hand. I always carry a protein bar. You know, regardless of recovery, it's really important to have snacks with you wherever you go, because you never know when you might need them. But all fun aside, reach out. That is fundamentally the most important thing that you need to do if you feel like you're being swayed. Because once you let it go and talk to somebody about it, then you've already put it out there. Chances are you're not going to relapse. We say that alcohol is cunning, baffling and powerful because you never see it come up and hit you on the arse. I had no idea I was becoming an alcoholic. You know, there's not one day that you wake up and suddenly, I'm an alcoholic today. I drank that little bit extra. It's cunning because it sneaks up on you. And it's like that little devil on your shoulder waiting for you to have that wrong emotion or right emotion to come and tell you, I've got the solution, it's alcohol. It's baffling because even towards the end when I didn't want to drink anymore, I couldn't stop. That sounds insane to people who aren't like me. But for people who are like me, you'll understand. You know, that constant fight. I was on my hands and knees praying to a God of my misunderstanding to help stop me from drinking, because I just couldn't stop. You know, everybody around me couldn't understand and I couldn't understand. It wasn't until I had that bout of sobriety, the 28-day program, like Rehubs, that I was able to have a clear mind to see what I was actually doing to myself. And then I had choices. I could either choose to carry on with the aftercare programs, continue to reach out, take accountability and take all hazards and temptations away, or I could say, right, I've done that 28 days, like, which one do you think is going to be relapse? It's certainly not me, because I did the first thing and I continue to do it. I might not be perfect, but I know that when I stop doing what I'm doing, reach out, talk to people, work on myself and learn to sit with my emotions, I'm going to be back out the door like the other people, and I don't want to be that. When they said to me in early recovery that I'll get my life back, I didn't know what that looked like, because I didn't know a life beyond alcohol. I had no idea really what I wanted or what I could do. I honestly thought that I would never work again. That, in fairness, probably kept me out from saying I needed help for quite some time, the fear of losing everything. It was so far from the truth. My massive wins is getting my life back and being able to do the things that was never going to be able to accomplishable in addiction. I feel like I've had a really good couple of years career-wise that were never going to be available to me beforehand. I managed to do Dancing on Ice last year and SES Who Dares Wins. These are shows that I've always wanted to do, and I had auditioned for them previously. I'd gone there, done my piece, thought I was amazing, but actually I was an absolute car crash. There's no way I would have gotten any of those shows in addiction. You know, and I've got my kids' love and trust back. Not that they never stopped loving me, but I think on a personal win, it's got to be my family not looking at me scared. You know, the look that my husband, my friends and my kids used to give me was just fear. Not because I was going to hurt them physically, but fear that I was going to hurt myself. And today I don't have that. Today they come to me with their problems. They trust me. Yeah, I think the biggest personal win is getting my family